It all started on a Tuesday. Not a dramatic, thunder and lightning kind of Tuesday. No, it was one of those boring, painfully average afternoons where the most thrilling thing on your to-do list is picking up a gas station coffee that tastes like burnt resentment. I just wrapped up a long morning of reminding upper management that yes, turning it off and on again still counts as IT support. I work in tech, IT support, to be exact, which means I spend my days decoding corporate confusion and babysitting servers that have the emotional stability of a toddler after skipping nap time. So naturally, when I pulled into Murphy's gas station on Elm Street at 3:07 p.m., I was just trying to top off the Civic and get on with pretending my life wasn't slowly devolving into a sitcom. That was the plan anyway. Now, Murphy's isn't exactly glamorous. It's the kind of place where the coffee machine probably hasn't been cleaned since the Clinton administration, and the bulletproof glass between the cashier and the customers isn't just for show. But it's reliable, cheap, and nobody bothers you, which made it the perfect place for what was supposed to be a quiet 10-minute pit stop. I had just started pumping gas into my gloriously unwashed 2008 Honda Civic, a car held together more by hope and gorilla tape than actual engineering, when I heard it. That sound, that specific, soul-rattling shriek that instantly triggers the fight-or-flight reflex in anyone who's ever worked retail. Excuse me, it wasn't just a voice. It was a full-on sonic assault. The kind of voice that doesn't ask questions so much as demand compliance. Like an air raid siren with highlights. I turned around slowly, as one does when they're reasonably sure they're about to get yelled at by someone who thinks manners are optional. And there she was. Imagine, if you will, a luxury SUV the size of a small yacht, glistening in an obnoxiously pristine white paint job that screamed, "I've never parked within 6 inches of a curb in my life." Chrome rims, tinted windows, and a personalized license plate that read, "I kid you not, blessed one." Which is hilarious because I've never met anyone so deeply spiritually cursed in my life. Next to it stood the source of the screech. A woman in her early 50s, wearing what appeared to be a $600 yoga outfit from a brand that probably markets itself as for women who brunch hard. Her sunglasses were large enough to qualify as aircraft equipment, and her hair, oh, the hair, was styled in that specific short, spiky, blonde highlighted helmet that instantly triggers a visceral reaction in anyone who's ever had to cancel a return policy. The Karen had entered the arena. She marched toward me, her stride full of righteous indignation, as if the very act of walking was an affront to her time. Her designer handbag bounced against her hip like a weapon of entitlement. She had the aura of someone who wakes up every morning, downs a kale smoothie, and immediately starts looking for someone to sue. "You." She pointed at me with one finger, the other still clutching her iPhone like it was a scepter. "I need you to pay for my gas." At this point, I was so blindsided I actually looked around, expecting Ashton Kutcher to pop out of the convenience store with a camera crew. "Sorry, what now?" I said, blinking in confusion. "I said," she repeated, slower this time, as though speaking to someone who didn't speak entitlement as a first language. "You're going to pay for my gas." Now, I consider myself a man of above-average patience. I once walked a CFO through a 2-hour tutorial on how to open a PDF. But this was a new and terrifying frontier in absurdity. "Ma'am," I said cautiously, still trying to assess whether I was caught in some kind of elaborate prank. "I don't know you." "My card isn't working," she snapped. "And I have somewhere very important to be. Now are you going to help or not?" There's a moment in every man's life where the universe taps you on the shoulder and says, "You're about to be in a story you'll be telling for years." This was that moment. Except instead of a tap, it was more of a slap, courtesy of Patricia Whitmore, professional narcissist. She was glaring at me with the unearned confidence of someone who's never been told no, without immediately demanding to speak to a supervisor. Her SUV loomed behind her like a monument to bad decisions and balloon payments. "Look," I said, my voice even and polite. "If your card's not working, maybe try going inside. They might be able to help you at the counter." Her nostrils flared. Like, literally flared. I'd only ever seen that kind of facial twitch in documentaries about charging bulls. I'm on the HOA board of Meadowbrook Estates, she hissed, like that explained anything. Do you have any idea who I am? Oh boy, there it was. The battle cry of the chronically overprivileged. I'm going to guess, someone who still hasn't figured out how a debit card works? That earned me a death glare so potent I'm pretty sure it shaved a few years off my life expectancy. I don't have time for this nonsense, she barked. You're going to pay for my gas, or I'll report you for harassment. I actually laughed. Not a snide little chuckle, but a full body, what is happening kind of laugh. You ever laugh so hard you're worried you might start a fight? Yeah, that kind. Lady, I said, wiping a tear from my eye, this isn't harassment. This is me refusing to be your personal ATM. Her face turned an alarming shade of crimson. If her SUV had a horn, I'm pretty sure she would have used it for emphasis. I'm calling the police, she said, reaching for her phone again, thumb poised like she was about to launch nukes. You're threatening me. Let's be clear, I was still standing by my own car. I hadn't moved, hadn't yelled, hadn't even stepped toward her. But apparently, the act of denying her free gasoline was now classified as criminal intimidation. So yeah, that's how it all started. Now, when a complete stranger demands you pay for their gas, you expect there to be some sort of emergency. Like maybe their wallet got stolen, or their kid is in the car turning blue from lack of oxygen, or maybe there's an angry grizzly bear chasing them, and their only chance of escape is a full tank of gas and divine intervention. But no, this was not one of those moments. Patricia, and yes, she finally introduced herself as Mrs. Whitmore, like she was being knighted mid-sentence, stood her ground like a badly scripted villain in a low-budget soap opera. Her SUV idled nearby, the air conditioning hissing like it too was over this nonsense. I said I need you to pay for my gas, she repeated, as if maybe I hadn't understood the words the first time. My card didn't work at the pump, and I'm going to be late for a charity luncheon. Because of course it was a charity luncheon. Not a hospital emergency. Not a job interview. Not picking up her child from school. No, a luncheon. Probably involving crustless cucumber sandwiches, mimosas, and a discussion about how hard it is to find good help these days. Ma'am, I said slowly, like I was explaining gravity to someone who thought the earth was flat. You can go inside and ask the cashier to run your card. Sometimes the pump readers are glitchy. That suggestion landed about as well as a fart at a funeral. Why should I have to go inside? She snapped. This station should work properly. And besides, you're already here. What's a few dollars to someone like you? I looked down at myself, grease-smudged jeans, faded t-shirt with a barely visible tech support, Control+Alt+Del Your Problems logo, and shoes that had seen better decades. I was the human embodiment of broke but functional. A few dollars to someone like me? I repeated, genuinely impressed at how casually she'd just insulted both my wardrobe and my wallet. Lady, I drive a car that's older than your Botox. Her jaw tightened, and her fingers clenched around her phone like it was the Holy Grail. This is exactly what's wrong with society, she hissed. No one respects their elders anymore. Respect is earned, I said. Not extracted at gas stations through guilt and a questionable sense of superiority. That's when she puffed up like an angry blowfish. I am Mrs. Patricia Whitmore. I sit on the Homeowners Association board at Meadowbrook Estates, and I am extremely well-connected. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard someone weaponize their HOA membership before, but let me tell you, it's not nearly as intimidating as they think it is. She said it like she expected me to salute and ask for permission to exist. I just smiled. So you're used to finding people for painting their mailbox the wrong shade of taupe. Got it. She blinked, confused, like the sarcasm didn't compute. Excuse me. I'm just saying, your resume doesn't exactly scream gasoline emergency response unit. Her eyes darted toward the other gas pumps, probably realizing she was beginning to attract attention. 2 other cars had pulled in, and their drivers were now pretending to casually fill their tanks while doing the world's worst job of pretending they weren't eavesdropping. Patricia's voice dropped a register, an attempt, I guess, to reclaim the moral high ground. Look, this doesn't have to be a thing. It's just 1 tank of gas. Be a gentleman. Oh, now she wanted to appeal to my sense of chivalry. I'm not a gentleman. I said flatly. I'm a tired IT guy on his lunch break who just wanted a cup of sludge masquerading as coffee. Patricia's lips formed a thin line that could have sliced through sheet metal. I'll have you know, I contribute thousands to local charities every year. My time is extremely valuable. Then maybe you should have invested some of that value into making sure your credit card works. That was when her face changed, not just a regular frown or scowl, but something more tactical, calculating, like a predator deciding which antelope to pounce on. She stepped closer, not close enough for me to be alarmed, but close enough that I noticed she was wearing perfume that probably cost more than my weekly groceries. Her expression softened in a way that was clearly meant to seem charming, but came off more stepmom in a horror movie. You really want to do this? She asked sweetly, voice like a snake wrapped in silk. You want to be the guy who left a woman stranded at a gas station. I want to be the guy who didn't get conned into paying for a stranger's fuel because she couldn't be bothered to walk 10 feet. And just like that, the mask slipped again. Her voice turned sharp enough to cut glass. You're being intentionally difficult. This is unacceptable behavior. I'm going to report you. To who? The gallant fairy. To the police, she snapped. For harassment. Harassment, I echoed, genuinely stunned at the mental gymnastics required to arrive at that conclusion. Lady, you approached me. I've been standing here trying to not be involved in whatever sitcom episode you're acting out. You were rude. Aggressive. You made me feel unsafe. By saying no? Yes. It was like trying to argue with a malfunctioning chatbot set to maximum offense. At this point, I could see the gas station attendant peeking through the security glass like this was the best entertainment he'd had all week. One of the other customers actually stopped pretending to pump gas and pulled out their phone. Great. I was about to be TikTok famous. Hashtag gas station gate. I exhaled slowly and said, look, you're clearly having a rough day. But calling the police over gas money you don't want to pay isn't the power move you think it is. She narrowed her eyes. You think you're so clever. No, I said. I think you're a little unhinged and hoping to guilt trip someone into buying you premium unleaded. There's a difference. That did it. She stomped back to her SUV, all righteous fury and swinging purse, and started aggressively dialing her phone. She looked over her shoulder twice, probably to make sure I knew I was about to be annihilated by her extensive contacts in law enforcement, politics, and probably local PDA bake sales. I returned the gas pump to its cradle, calmly grabbed my coffee, and leaned against my car with the serenity of someone who knew he hadn't done a damn thing wrong, and that things were about to get wildly stupid. Because when a Karen can't win a fight with logic, decency, or basic humanity, she escalates. And oh boy, did she. Next up, sirens, sob stories, and a full-blown police visit. Buckle in. I had barely taken my first sip of gas station coffee, which, to be fair, could double as industrial solvent, when I heard the sound. Sirens. Not the distant, maybe it's an ambulance kind. No, this was the kind of siren that says, congratulations, your day is officially ruined. I watched 2 patrol cars pull into Murphy's lot with synchronized precision, like they were auditioning for some kind of Cops, Suburbia Edition spinoff. Lights flashing, radios crackling, and, standing off to the side with the smug satisfaction of someone who believed she'd just launched a military airstrike, was Patricia, call me Mrs. Whitmore. She spotted the first officer stepping out of the cruiser and immediately transformed from angry Komodo dragon mode to distressed debutante. Oh, thank goodness you're here, she practically sobbed, rushing over with the enthusiasm of a child reporting a stolen lollipop. He was threatening me. I was just trying to get help, and he became so aggressive. The officer, a stocky guy in his 40s who looked like he'd rather be inspecting parking meters than dealing with this, raised an eyebrow but didn't say anything. His partner, younger and visibly less amused, walked toward me. I raised my coffee in greeting like we were at a barbecue and not the center of a weird suburban standoff. Sir, I'm Officer Thompson, he said. We received a call about a disturbance. Can you tell me what happened here? Sure thing, I replied, keeping my voice calm, because nothing says not guilty like being the least emotional person in a situation. I was pumping gas. She approached me, demanded I pay for her fuel because her card didn't work. I declined. She threatened to call the cops. And now here we are. The officer blinked. That's the whole thing? That's the director's cut, I said. No deleted scenes. Meanwhile, across the lot, Patricia was delivering a performance that would have gotten her a standing ovation at a high school drama club, if that drama club specialized in overacting and self-delusion. I didn't feel safe, she was saying. He was menacing, just standing there, staring at me. Was I supposed to look away while she demanded money? I muttered. Officer Thompson let out a small sigh. You know the kind. I'm about to file paperwork because two grown adults can't handle their own nonsense kind. Did you ever prevent her from leaving? He asked. Nope. Did you yell at her, use profanity, or make any threats? Didn't raise my voice once, I replied. Didn't even raise my eyebrows until she threatened to get me arrested for not being her personal Venmo. He scratched his chin, clearly fighting the urge to chuckle. Patricia, now gesturing wildly in my direction, turned up the volume. He mocked me. He humiliated me in public. Mocked was apparently now code for used sarcasm in response to delusion. Good to know. Officer Thompson waved over to his partner, who rejoined us with a look that screamed, "Yep, this is dumb." Ma'am, the older officer said, addressing Patricia with the patience of a kindergarten teacher dealing with a feral raccoon. Why didn't you try resolving the card issue inside the station? I shouldn't have to, she declared, arms crossed. That's not the point. The point is that he was rude and refused to help me. I was just trying to get gas. And you thought calling the police was the next logical step? Yes, she snapped, like it was the most obvious answer in the world. He intimidated me. The younger officer turned to me again. Do you have any video of the interaction? I smiled and pulled out my phone. Actually, I do. Started recording when she mentioned getting me arrested. Old IT habit, document everything. That wiped the smirk right off Patricia's face. You recorded me without permission? She shrieked. In a public space? Yes. Perfectly legal, I said. Want to see it? Officer Thompson did. So I hit play. There it was, in crisp, 1080p clarity. Patricia demanding I pay for her gas. Me, calm and collected. Her threatening me with arrest. Me, continuing to sip coffee like I was watching a nature documentary on delusional wildlife. The officers watched in silence. The audio caught everything. Well, the older officer finally said, that's definitive. I felt threatened. Patricia shrieked again. That video doesn't show my feelings. No, Officer Thompson replied dryly. But it does show that he never approached you, never raised his voice, and definitely didn't threaten you. There was a long, awkward silence, during which Patricia looked like she might either faint, explode, or try to stage a citizen's arrest. Let's just try your card inside, Officer Thompson said, wisely trying to pivot towards sanity. But, ma'am, he interrupted gently, please. So, the four of us, myself, the two officers, and one thoroughly unhinged HOA board member, marched into the gas station like it was a crime scene and not just a sad little building with overpriced beef jerky and expired gum. The kid behind the counter, maybe 19 and visibly debating whether to quit his job on the spot, blinked as we approached. Can you try running her card? Officer Martinez asked. The kid took Patricia's platinum card, swiped it, and boom. Approved. Instantly. Worked fine, he said. And I swear to everything holy, Patricia looked at that receipt like it had personally betrayed her. But it didn't work at the pump. The cashier shrugged. Maybe you didn't insert it all the way. Some of the pumps are old and don't like chip readers. I know how to use a card, she snapped. Sure, Patricia. And I know how to tame dragons. We all have our imaginary skills. The officers turned toward her, both visibly exhausted. Ma'am, this could have been resolved in less than 2 minutes if you'd just walked inside. That's not the point, she barked. He still refused to help, and he had no obligation to. Officer Martinez said calmly. You made false claims, wasted police resources, and disrupted the entire station. I was the victim. You were the customer with a declined pump transaction. I corrected. There's a difference. Patricia glared at me like she was mentally redecorating my funeral. "This isn't over," she hissed. "You're going to regret this." I smiled. "Ma'am, I work in IT. Every day is regret." The officers shared a glance. One of them snorted. Outside, as Patricia angrily jammed her gas pump into the tank like she was personally punishing her vehicle, I leaned against my car, sipping my coffee and watching the chaos settle into a beautiful, pathetic afterglow. But I knew it wasn't over. Not by a long shot. This wasn't just about gas anymore. This was war. You'd think that after the police clarified, on the record and with video evidence, that I had done absolutely nothing wrong, Patricia would have moved on. Maybe gone to her charity luncheon, passed judgment on a few undercooked hors d'oeuvres, and told her fellow HOA members how the local peasantry no longer respected authority. But no, that would require self-awareness. And Patricia Whitmore ran on a strict emotional diet of indignation, Chardonnay, and power fantasies. I had just gotten back to my car, finally done with this absurd detour in human psychology, when I noticed her again. Still at the pump. Still glaring. She was now pacing in slow, angry loops around her SUV, muttering into her phone. I couldn't hear everything, but snippets floated across the asphalt like bits of soap opera script caught on the wind. Unacceptable treatment, aggressive behavior, completely unprovoked, obviously unstable. And just like that, I realized something chilling. This wasn't just a momentary tantrum. No, Patricia was shifting gears, from gas station tyrant to full-time crusader. Her tone had changed. She wasn't panicked or angry anymore. She was plotting. I sipped my coffee. Lukewarm, bitter, and completely fitting for what was coming. Then she did something that made my eyebrows twitch. She took out her phone and started snapping photos of me, my car, and with unsettling precision, my license plate. Not subtle, not secretive. No, casually pretending to scroll while recording. She did it openly, with the confidence of someone who believed there would be a PowerPoint presentation about me at the next HOA board meeting. Now, I've worked in IT long enough to recognize patterns. And the pattern I was seeing had all the warning signs of an entitled personality turning a minor inconvenience into a full-scale campaign of petty vengeance. I opened my car door and sat down, but I didn't drive off. I just watched her, calmly, while she paced and made her call. Because I knew exactly what was happening. She wasn't calling a friend. She was calling an organization. More specifically, the HOA. Now, I don't live in Meadowbrook Estates. I live a solid 15 minutes outside that manicured bubble of lawnscaped conformity. But I'd done freelance IT work in the area, and Patricia had no idea just how much overlap that gave me with her precious homeowners association. I pulled out my phone and did a quick search. Meadowbrook Estates HOA, managed by Premier Property Solutions. Bingo. And who, pray tell, had spent 3 agonizing weeks untangling that company's ancient, virus-riddled servers and installing a backup system after they nearly lost 3 years of HOA billing data. Yours truly. I even had the contact saved in my phone. Sarah Chun, Director of IT, Premier Property Solutions. She'd once bought me lunch just for recovering an email server no one had backed up since 2016. I hit call. "Jake," she answered on the second ring, cheerful and just a little surprised. "How's my favorite emergency technician?" "Still alive?" I replied. "Hey, quick question. You guys still manage Meadowbrook Estates?" "Unfortunately, yes." "What?" "I just had a delightful encounter with one of their board members. Woman named Patricia Whitmore." There was a pause. Then, in a voice laced with enough second-hand trauma to qualify as an HR case file, Sarah said, "Oh no." "What did she do?" "Demanded I pay for her gas, called the cops when I said no, then accused me of harassment." Another pause. Then, "That actually tracks. She's currently taking photos of my car and probably planning to submit a complaint to you guys." "Oh, Jake," Sarah sighed. "She files more complaints than the IRS in April. Last month, she tried to find someone for using a garden gnome that didn't align with the neighborhood's spiritual energy." Seriously? She once threatened to report a toddler for sidewalk chalk. Called it vandalism. Please tell me she's not taken seriously. She's the reason half our customer support team is in therapy. Well, she's gearing up for war. If anything comes across your desk with my name on it, Can you give me a heads up? Absolutely, Sarah said. And Jake? If she crosses the line, let me know. Our legal department has been dying for an excuse to hit back. Duly noted. I hung up just as Patricia was finishing up her call. She was now stalking back toward the gas station, waving her hands like a televangelist with a direct line to God, probably demanding that the 19-year-old cashier file a formal complaint with the FBI. I watched her go, marveling at the raw determination it took to believe this entire situation wasn't her fault. Then she turned and spotted me watching her. She sneered, like full body, lip curling. I will destroy you with the HOA bylaws sneer. I waved. She flipped her hair, turned her back on me, and stomped away. It was adorable, but I knew what was coming. This wasn't over. This wasn't even the climax. Patricia had declared war, and I had just activated the Patricia protocol. The next morning, I woke up to an email from Sarah Chun at Premier Property Solutions with the subject line. Guess who filed a formal complaint? Spoiler alert, it wasn't a Girl Scout this time. I opened the email and was greeted by a scan of a multi-page document titled, No Joke, Formal Grievance Against Menacing Individual at Murphy's Fuel Station. Filed by none other than Mrs. Patricia Whitmore. It was a literary masterpiece, a symphony of delusion. She described me as a hostile and unprovoked aggressor, claimed I violently refused assistance. How does one violently not give someone money? And even managed to slip in that I had likely falsified employment credentials to avoid accountability. Lady, I work in tech support. What credentials? My only weapon is sarcasm and an overuse of sticky notes. But Patricia wasn't done. No. She had included a photo of my license plate, taken like some third-grade tattletale with a vendetta, a fuzzy side profile of me mid-coffee sip, which frankly made me look cooler than I deserve, and a demand that the HOA investigate the individual's connection to the community and pursue legal recourse. Now, here's the kicker. I don't live in Meadowbrook Estates. I don't work for them. I don't deliver their mail, walk their dogs, or trim their hydrangeas. I am, to Patricia's eternal frustration, completely out of their jurisdiction. But she didn't stop there. She apparently told Premier Property Solutions that she suspected I was a repeat offender and that they should look into my record, which, legally speaking, is the moment Patricia dropped herself directly into a steaming pile of civil liability. Why? Because trying to initiate an investigation into a private citizen using an HOA connection based on nothing but personal spite? That's a misuse of authority and a very juicy opening for a harassment suit. I replied to Sarah's email with a polite, "Would you mind forwarding this to my lawyer?" Her response came back in 2 words, "With pleasure." Enter Sam, my old college roommate and current harassment attorney. He was the kind of guy who could quote defamation case law the way most people recite baseball stats. I forwarded him everything. The video from the gas station, the police incident number, Patricia's emailed complaint, and the HOA attachment. He called me 15 minutes later, laughing. "You weren't kidding," he said. "This woman really put it all in writing." I appreciate the commitment to incriminating herself. She included her HOA title in the complaint and signed it with a board member's signature block. This is gold. She's opened herself up to personal liability, HOA liability, and abuse of process. Can we hit back? "Oh, we're not just hitting back," he said. "We're installing a trampoline under the lawsuit so it bounces." By noon, Sam had drafted a cease and desist letter so sharp you could slice deli meat with it. It cited Patricia's misuse of HOA status, the baseless police report, harassment, attempted defamation, and misuse of private identifying information, i.e., my license plate. We delivered it to Premier Property Solutions with a copy to the Meadowbrook Estates HOA legal contact. Sarah, ever the professional, confirmed that the board had received it, and that some of them were not amused. But that wasn't even the best part. Remember the gas station? Yeah, they had security cameras. The kind with high-definition footage and audio. I called Murphy's, explained the situation, and asked if they still had the footage from the incident. The manager, a delightfully unbothered man named Frank, checked and confirmed they had everything on file. "I remember that woman," he said. "Thought she owned the place. Treated my cashier like he worked at Buckingham Palace. Mind if I get a copy of the footage? Come by this afternoon. We'll even throw in a complimentary muffin. It's expired, but it's yours." True to his word, Frank handed me a USB stick with all the glorious footage. Patricia marching up to me, demanding gas, flipping out, calling the cops, and very clearly threatening to report me, while I calmly stood there like a very patient caffeine addict. We now had 3 sources of evidence. First of all, my own recording. Secondly, Patricia's written complaint. Thirdly, Murphy's security footage. And guess what? The cops were also not done with her. Officer Thompson had filed an internal note the day of the incident. Apparently, it wasn't the first time someone from Meadowbrook Estates had abused 911 to get their way. There'd been at least 2 other reports from his precinct in the last 6 months, both involving concerned HOA members calling emergency services for non-emergencies. My call to Thompson went something like this. "Hey, Officer Thompson, remember the gas station circus? Oh God, the platinum credit card and charity luncheon? How could I forget?" She filed a formal complaint, included my license plate, tried to push it through her HOA. She's out of her mind. Want the footage? Send it over. We've been documenting false report cases. Yours might be the nail in that particular coffin. So now, on top of facing a civil suit from my end, Patricia was being reviewed for potential charges of filing a false police report, a misdemeanor in our state with up to a $1,000 fine and community service. Meanwhile, the Meadowbrook Estates Board, realizing they had a legal hand grenade with a blowout haircut on their team, began quietly shifting into damage control mode. Sarah told me the board was holding an emergency meeting, not to discuss HOA landscaping violations, but to determine if Patricia was a liability. Which, spoiler alert, she absolutely was. And the best part? I hadn't even done anything. No lawsuits filed yet. No countersuits. No public tantrums. All I'd done was refuse to buy someone's gas and make a few phone calls. It was beautiful. It was poetic. It was about to get so much worse for her. Because Patricia wasn't just annoying. She was about to become nationally known. And I was holding the story that would do it. If there's one thing I've learned from years of untangling tech disasters and dealing with entitled executives who think Wi-Fi is a right, not a feature, it's this. People like Patricia rarely see the downfall coming, even when it's gift-wrapped, insured, and shipped directly to their front lawn. By Wednesday morning, Patricia was neck-deep in consequences, and she didn't even know it yet. The cease and desist letter had been delivered. The police had the footage. The HOA board was scrambling to distance themselves. But Patricia? Oh, she was still in her own little bubble of delusion, frothing with rage that the world wasn't bowing to her whims. I was sipping coffee in my living room, enjoying the quiet satisfaction of being on the right side of a meltdown, when I got a call from Sarah at Premier Property Solutions. "Jake," she said with a tone that was half exhaustion, half barely contained laughter, "you may want to sit down." "I'm already down." "What happened?" Patricia showed up at the HOA office this morning. With printouts. Printouts. She brought a binder. An actual binder. Filled with your license plate photos, typed complaints, and, I kid you not, a paragraph comparing herself to Rosa Parks for being refused service. I nearly spit out my drink. She compared? Yup. It's bad. We had to escort her out after she started yelling that we were collaborating with the enemy. Did you film it? No, but 2 interns quit on the spot. Said they were traumatized by her energy. God bless those interns. But it didn't stop there. That afternoon, I received a call from Officer Martinez, the first cop on the scene at the gas station. He sounded amused in that, "I hate paperwork, but this is too ridiculous not to follow through kind of way." "Mr. Reynolds," he said, "we've reviewed the footage from Murphy's, along with your recording. And, well, we're moving forward." "With what?" "We're recommending charges for filing a false report. And we're forwarding it to the DA. That noise you just heard? That was me clapping. Also," he continued, "we contacted Premier Property Solutions. They've confirmed that Mrs. Whitmore used her HOA title in an official complaint against a non-resident. That's a problem for them. Let me guess. They're not happy. They're holding a board vote next week." Her removal is on the agenda. I leaned back in my chair, coffee in one hand, satisfaction in the other. I didn't even have to lift a finger. Patricia had done it all herself, signed, sealed, self-sabotaged. And then, the cherry on top. Thursday morning, I got a ping from a friend who worked at the local newspaper, a guy I'd helped recover a corrupted hard drive full of interview audio. He owed me a favor. Turns out someone at the gas station had leaked the story. Possibly Frank the manager, possibly the cashier who'd become a reluctant character in this suburban Shakespearean tragedy. The headline? Local HOA board member calls police over free gas demand. Faces false report charges. Beneath it, a grainy screenshot from Murphy's security cam showing Patricia mid-gesture, hand flared like she was casting a spell of entitlement. The article was glorious. It didn't mention me by name. The journalist had the decency to use concerned local resident, but it included every detail that mattered. The demand, the police, the refusal to go inside, the card that worked just fine when tested, the video evidence, and the looming legal charges. Oh, and it very politely mentioned her HOA title and the fact that the board had called an emergency vote. I framed that article and hung it in my office, right next to my certificate for excellence in printer jam elimination. Because sometimes, justice isn't just poetic. Sometimes it's hilariously public. Now let's talk fallout. By Friday afternoon, Patricia's name was all over the local HOA Facebook group. Posts ranged from, "This is embarrassing for Meadowbrook," to "Can we finally talk about how she threatened to fine me for Halloween decorations last year?" My personal favorite? She once yelled at my son for skateboarding too enthusiastically. Too enthusiastically. That woman's life was one HOA meeting away from a full-blown purge. Then came the official fallout. Sarah emailed me a copy of the HOA board's resolution. Mrs. Patricia Whitmore is hereby removed from her position on the board of directors, effective immediately. Just like that, poof. The clipboard queen was dethroned. But Patricia? Oh, she wasn't done yet. Not by a long shot. Because when people like her start losing power, they don't reflect. They retaliate. So, after being publicly humiliated, kicked off the HOA board, and made the subject of a hilariously well-written newspaper article, any normal person would have taken the hint. They'd go on a find yourself retreat, start a mildly condescending lifestyle blog, or just take a long, introspective bath. Patricia, naturally, did none of those things. Instead, she doubled down. It started with a voicemail from a number I didn't recognize. But Patricia had the kind of voice that could sand paint off drywall, so there was no mistaking it. "You think you've won? You have no idea who you're dealing with. This isn't over." Charming. She didn't leave her name, of course, because plausible deniability is the first resort of the cornered narcissist. But come on. At this point, she might as well have mailed me a glitter bomb filled with HOA regulations and Chardonnay fumes. Later that same day, while grabbing lunch at a local diner, I noticed something odd. A woman sitting alone near the window, clearly pretending to read a magazine, upside down. Every couple of minutes, she'd steal a glance at me, scribble something into a notepad, and pretend to sip from a coffee mug that was suspiciously empty. Patricia had gone full conspiracy board. She was spying on me. It was both unsettling and deeply pathetic, like if James Bond had a mental breakdown and decided to monitor suburban tech support workers for sport. By that evening, she was back on the warpath, this time through Nextdoor, the unofficial social media platform for middle-aged paranoia. Someone forwarded me a post she made in the Meadowbrook group titled, "Be warned, dangerous individual targeting local women at gas stations." The description? A vague, highly embellished summary of our original encounter, carefully omitting her demand for free gas, her threat to call the police, and the fact that I had literally stood still for the entire interaction like I was trying to win a mannequin challenge. My favorite line, "He may appear calm and polite, but that's how manipulators work." The irony was so thick you could have spread it on toast. Now, I could have just ignored it. Let her scream into the digital void until she exhausted herself and her data plan. But Patricia had crossed into a new category now, defamation. And I don't do well with unprovoked character assassination. So I activated phase 2. You see, while Patricia was busy spinning yarns for bored homeowners and suspicious dogs on Nextdoor, I was digging through my old freelance files. Specifically, a little folder I'd kept from my time at Premier Property Solutions, backups, system diagrams, security protocols, and email logs. Now, I hadn't violated any laws. I hadn't stolen or retained confidential info, but I did know how to search public-facing staff directories. And I knew, from my time there, that HOA board member emails were considered public records under state HOA transparency laws. So I submitted a public records request to the HOA. Why? Because I wanted every email Patricia had sent with my name in it, or my license plate, or words like threat, dangerous, or God help me, gas station terrorism, which, yes, was something she had apparently floated in a now-deleted draft. 2 days later, I had a PDF the size of a novella. It was glorious. Hundreds of emails, dozens of threats, multiple false accusations. Patricia accusing me of stalking her because she saw my car parked outside a Target. Patricia trying to have me banned from community events I'd never once attended. Patricia emailing Sarah Chin 7 times in one day demanding she revoke Jake Reynolds' IT access privileges, like I was some rogue hacker plotting to turn off her sprinklers remotely. I packaged it all. Sent it to Sarah. Sent it to Officer Martinez. Sent it to my lawyer, Sam. Sam, bless his over-caffeinated soul, nearly wept with joy. This is a harassment case wrapped in a bow, he said. She's created a paper trail that makes her look like a walking lawsuit. And then, just because I could, I sent the entire email log anonymously to the local newspaper. 2 days later, a follow-up article appeared. Former HOA board member escalates harassment against local resident. Emails reveal pattern of obsession. This one did name her, and it was brutal. Screenshots, quotes, a timeline. It painted Patricia as what she was, a deeply entitled, dangerously obsessive woman who tried to use her minor power to ruin someone's life over a $40 tank of gas and a bruised ego. The internet did what it always does. Comments flooded in. This woman makes Nurse Ratched look well-adjusted. Imagine ruining your life because you couldn't use a chip reader. I'd pay for her gas if she promised to drive away permanently. By the end of the week, Patricia had deleted her social media accounts. And then, finally, the police department issued a statement. We are pursuing misdemeanor charges against Ms. Whitmore for filing a false report and continued harassment of a private citizen. We appreciate the community's cooperation. Game, set, justice. So, there I was, on my couch, sipping a victory latte, extra smug, watching the chaos Patricia had created collapse in real time like a Jenga tower made of lies and ego. By now, her mugshot, oh yes, there was a mugshot, had made its way onto several local gossip blogs and even a Reddit thread titled, HOA Karen gets arrested for demanding free gas. You won't believe the emails. Believe me, they did. The internet devoured it. Someone even set her tirade to dramatic orchestral music and edited her quotes over black and white slow-mo clips of luxury SUVs. It was art. Modern Renaissance-level art. The official charges filed by the county: filing a false police report, Class A misdemeanor. Harassment, civil infraction, with possible fine. Misuse of HOA authority, pending civil review by the HOA Governance Board. Oh, and let's not forget the libel complaint Sam filed on my behalf, bundled nicely with the email evidence, security footage, and screen captures of her little dangerous individual Nextdoor fanfic. We weren't seeking a big payday, just a public correction, a formal apology, and enough pain to make her think twice before turning her next tantrum into a community crisis. Her lawyer, a man who sounded like he charged by the hour and apologized on her behalf more than she ever would, tried to get us to settle quietly. Sam's reply? She can write a letter of apology, hand-signed, admitting she fabricated the gas station story. Then we'll talk. We never got the letter. But Patricia did agree to drop any counterclaims, cease all further contact, and accept a public censure from her former HOA. Now, let's talk reputation. Remember how Patricia was Meadowbrook royalty? The kind of person who probably insisted on being called Madam Vice Chair and complained about the noise levels of butterflies? Gone. The HOA issued a statement clarifying that she no longer had any authority, past or present. Her key fob access to the community clubhouse was revoked. Her name was scrubbed from the website. Her parking spot was reassigned. I'd heard from Sarah, who was now receiving edible arrangements from random homeowners as a thank you, that Patricia had applied to join the HOA board of a nearby development. They rejected her application, unanimously. But the real kicker? The final, glorious, movie-ending moment? Patricia got a job. At a department store. In the next town over. Yup. The woman who demanded free gas, weaponized the police, and tried to destroy a stranger's life with HOA emails, was now working retail. The kind of job where the customer is always right applies especially when it's someone she used to condescend to at brunch. One of my neighbors, a guy named Greg who once received a citation from Patricia for planting non-native succulents, spotted her behind the returns counter. She asked if I wanted store credit, he texted me, and I almost asked if that included gas money. As for me, I still go to Murphy's gas station. The attendant there, the same one who watched the whole thing go down, now calls me the fuel avenger. I get free coffee every Friday and a salute if he's feeling theatrical. Oh, and the local paper? They published a follow-up a month later. False report case ends in apology and job loss. Former HOA board member now employed in retail. Beneath it, a quote from a community member. All she had to do was walk inside and use her card. Instead, she walked herself into legal trouble, unemployment, and public disgrace. You know who said that? Me. Full name: Jake Reynolds, 34, IT support specialist, master of creative problem solving, and now, unofficially, the man who stood up to a gas station Karen and lived to tell the tale. I printed that article too. It's framed, right next to my Employee of the Month award and a sticky note from my boss that just says, "You broke the printer again, but we forgive you." Probably. Looking back, I sometimes wonder what would have happened if I'd just paid for her gas that day. Could have avoided the drama, skipped the sirens, missed the passive-aggressive binder presentation at the HOA. But then I remember her face, that exact moment when her card worked inside the station, and the officers realized she had weaponized entitlement like it was a career. And I know I made the right choice. Because some people fold under pressure. Others? We file evidence, call our lawyer, and let karma do the rest. After all, someone has to stand up to the Patricius of the world. Might as well be someone who enjoys the challenge. Thank you for being with us. Please share in the comments where you are watching from and whether you liked everything, and see you next time.